3, 2, 1.
Welcome to another edition of GrokTALK, brought to you by New Hampshire's leading conservative blog site, GrokTALK.com. We are your feared, extremist, right-wing, hard-charging, gun-toting, opinionated, outspoken, rabble-rousing, letter-writing, radio microphone-stomping conservatives and rational libertarians. So get ready for another 30 minutes of news and opinion you could only get from GrokTALK.com.
GrokTALk.
All right, welcome back to segment 2 of GrokTALK, brought to you by the Coalition of New Hampshire Taxpayers and the bloggers at GrokTALK.com. Visit them at cnht.org, us at GrokTALK.com. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter. Just search GrokTALK. We're also on a bunch of places, and we're working on expanding that, by the way. I wanted to tell you, I made some connections with some guys at a website called Red Maryland. And they've been around for a while. They're conservatives. It's trapped in Maryland. God help them.
Oh boy, that's a losing battle.
They have their website and they do a podcast, and there's 3 guys that do it. And that tweet I posted that you riffed off of?
Yeah,
he's one of them.
But we're going to have them on.
We are. We're going to have all 3 of them on. We're going to have them one at a time, and I'm working on that right now. So there are other bloggers in other states who are doing exactly what we're doing, and we want to network with those folks. But what we really want to do right now is talk to our guest. Kathy Rego's joined us. She is running as the Republican in Senate District 7 in New Hampshire.
My district.
Your district.
Your district.
It is. Guilford.
Oh, yeah, that's right, Guilford. We start at Guilford and go all the way down to Webster.
That's
Thank
correct.
you both for having me on today.
Thanks for coming in.
I greatly appreciate it.
You're welcome, even though you were laughing at our intro. Hard-charging, gun-toting.
Yes, I
We didn't
was.
put the banner
Rabble-rousing.
up. We were so busy messing around with all the stuff, we never put the banner
Well, we got
up.
this new feature.
Yeah, we were working on the new feature. So.
Well, actually, the old one brought back to life.
Yeah, you can show them the feature. They can see what's going on. They can go, oh, look, that's me.
Let's put up Kathy's website.
Yep, we can do that.
Yep. So it is Kathy4, the digit 4nh.com, and there's some nice top banners and some other information. It'll tell you all about Kathy in the district and what she's all about. But see, we're doing one better than that because, while
we've got her here.
We have her here, indeed. So we'll just keep the banner up. Keep the website up for a little bit, and we'll put us in the picture in the lower left-hand corner. Okay. And let's talk for a little bit.
Sure. That'd be great. Love to.
So, the obvious question that you get from everybody is, why are you bringing this silliness upon yourself?
Right. You're right. I do get that question a lot. And actually...
Bet you they don't use the word silliness.
No, they don't use silliness.
I had too much self-esteem.
Jeez. Actually, it's interesting because you folks do know that I was a former legislator in 2011, 2012. And I didn't run a second term, really because I wanted to focus on the education and school choice issues. So I've been watching, I continue to pay attention, and I'm watching as this Democrat majority once again. I'm looking. I come for your.
You're going to have to. Kathy, you're going to have to forgive us.
I'm sorry. We
are the ADD bloggers.
Yes.
We will. I will try to keep everybody focused on you, but it may not happen.
No problem whatsoever.
Send me the URL. I'll put it up.
Okay. Yeah.
Is that in response to that letter to the editor you were just referring to?
Oh, no. This is probably in response to the horrible incident out in Oklahoma where this Muslim convert decided to
And this is one of those weird things where, it happens in England on the street, and you're like, oh, that's awful. But then you think, what if you worked there?
Now, if ISIS...
And you had to go back to work where your coworker was beheaded.
See, if ISIS comes to New Hampshire, these are the badasses they're going to have to face right here.
I actually...
We're also going to have to realize that all of us are open carrying. I don't know if Kathy's carrying or not, but...
we are the safest...
Nope. Yes, you're the safest place to be.
We are the safest podcast in New Hampshire.
Yeah, I bet.
So you're running for the Senate. Education issues I know are key. I think we talked about those a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And so that's really... Is that your driving motivation to try and get...
No, that's part of it. That's one of my motivations. What I was saying before we all ADD'd over to something else was that I'm just watching the government basically continue to spin out of control. And what I see is, I think Walt said it, they're spending us toward an income tax or a sales tax. And I've been watching, and it's just patterns. When the Democrats are in the majority, they start to overspend. And then what they do is turn around and go, oops, now I'm looking at, like this time now we're looking at $100 million in the red. Back in 2010, we were looking at, if we didn't do something about spending, it was going to be $800 million in the red.
Or more.
Or more.
Well, it's $800 million was the starting point.
Yes. And what I've been doing as I'm, to be honest, as I'm going door to door, I'm starting to go, who is looking out for the taxpayer? I mean, I'm talking to these folks and I'm like, oh my gosh, you have lobbyists looking out for the auto dealers. You have lobbyists looking out for this and that. And people are just concerned about not having enough money to pay their bills.
Even your school board has lobbyists who aren't looking out for you.
Right.
So
exactly.
You know.
So and I fully understand that, but it's just so, part of the reason I decided to run is just I feel like there has to be a voice there of someone who knows what it's like to run a household budget, who knows what it's like to cut coupons to make ends meet, who knows what it's like to look at your expenses and your revenue and go, oops, I've got to cut some costs here, like cable. I don't have cable anymore. I haven't had cable for a couple of years. So it's those kind of things that I've just come to realize more and more, who's looking out for the taxpayer. I just don't think anyone is. And it's very disconcerting to me. And that's part of the reason I'm running.
And really it comes down to one of my favorite questions, which the left never seems to really want to answer except for everything. What is the proper role of government? I mean, we were first established as a people who had a government. Now I seem to think that government has us, and the inversion has happened, that the public servants are becoming the public masters. So I will ask you, because we know that the Democrats want government to do more and more and more, and they don't care what's going on because they just think that government can solve all ill. So in your mind, I don't think that you're anywhere as close to being no government as the Democrats always accuse us on the right.
No, I think government does have its proper place. I think that helping with the safety net is probably a good piece for those who truly need it. I have concerns about those who don't truly need it and that are abusing the system. I think government has a place in light of our roads and bridges, our police for public safety. So I think there are some things that government is there for. But what I'm seeing more and more is government, our elected officials should be servants of the people. And it's just what you said. It's starting to we're becoming servants to them. And I have a big concern about that.
It's not just that. We're becoming servants to the bureaucrats that are created and the bureaucracies that are funded by them.
And absolutely. And there's so many areas, just like even you're looking at regulations. If I look at occupational licensing as just one example.
Oh, that's a big one.
That's big.
We are one of the top states as far as occupations that we license.
We are.
Oh, are we the top?
Per capita.
Okay. So, well, good to know. I knew we were in the top notch up there, but so to me, it's like I'm looking at that, and that is a barrier to entry, and we should be doing everything we can to help people who want to start their businesses.
Segue.
He's reading a cartoon over here on his phone. So, okay.
And he's as red.
Up. I know.
We're not regulated by the FCC if it's naughty.
Well, I don't think you guys will find it as funny as I do. You have to be in the military to understand. It's a cartoon, a Marine Corps called Terminal Lance. And this is number 346, Aloha 2. And, you see the Marine standing there and the little dude in the background yelling, "Hello, mister," and he's doing the chakra, like this, the thumb and the pinky and the thumb out. And then the Marine asks, "Hey, why are all the kids around here throwing up the shaka?" And then he says, "I taught them." And he says, "Replace some unit out of 29 palms. It took me 5 months to get them to stop flipping people off."
Yeah, I think... Sorry.
That's okay.
Here's 3 things I want to read to you quick, because I put together a page of a lot of sayings by progressives. A lot of them from New Hampshire. New Hampshire State Rep Chris Roberts. Government has to protect us from our own stupidity. New Hampshire State Rep Lee Webb. The role of government is to legislate behavior. New Hampshire State Rep Laura Pantelakis. I don't care about protecting people's liberty. Those were all Democrats. But then we have one.
One of them was my rep.
Yep. Yep. And
Greg
then,
Hill, are you listening?
Yeah, and then a Republican, New Hampshire State Rep Deborah DeSimone. The Constitution is only a guideline. So I look at this and I go, I look at the proper role of government as you said, it's differentiated depending on what level. Mm-hmm. Local level, fire, police, and the roads. And I would say the DPW is the most important of all. Because most of us, as you pointed out, can take care of ourselves. Education doesn't have to be done by government. In fact, I think there's a revolution going on in government. But we know what most towns do. And I think a lot of towns have extras that they don't have to do, but that people are lazy. So they've offloaded their responsibilities. But what do you see as the proper role of the state government?
I believe that the state government should be doing everything it can to encourage job growth. They should be implementing policies that are going to be not regulating the job market, not picking winners and losers, but actually doing everything they can to promote those things. That to me is kind of, other than the things we've already talked about, safety issues, those type of things, but that's pretty much it. I mean, I think that the American people, we are very independent, and we can pretty much take care of ourselves for the most part. Now, I'm not referring to people that are disabled or whatever, but
correct.
But I think that left alone, we could do a pretty good job of doing the things that need to get done. I think what government tends to do, especially state government, is they implement policies that stunt job growth, that prevent entrepreneurs from,
Entrepreneuring.
From entrepreneuring. There you go. So, for me, that would be one of the key things is to, when I say rein in government, it's things like that, like our regulations that are preventing entry into the job market for entrepreneurs to entrepreneur. Those type of things.
Yeah.
So.
Let me give you my favorite example. My wife and I owned a daycare center for a while. It used to be that the inspectors that would come out from DCYF to inspect us were helpful. Oh, I see that you're not quite in compliance. This is what you need to do. I'll come back and check later. So they were trying to help us succeed. Then they changed the head when the parties changed. Then it became adversarial. I got dinged because I didn't have a thermometer in a top-level freezer of a refrigerator. I wasn't using the freezer. Period. There was nothing in it. But because I didn't have another thermometer in it, I got dinged. And I keep looking at this kind of stuff and go, it's just a little cut. But there's thousands of these cuts that regulate, going back to Chris Roberts. I mean, Lee Webb, the role of government is to legislate behavior. Is that right?
No, I don't agree. And actually, I think when you're talking about the little ding, I think Charlie Arlinghouse was correct. It's not one thing. It's kind of a death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Yes.
Because it's all these things that are bleeding us, rhetorically. But I think your example is another one. To me, what I would love to see is what they're doing in Wisconsin, where they actually, Governor Walker brought in someone, they called it the Office of the Repealer, something like that. And it was just to focus on those things that are burdensome regulations that we don't need, pin down the wasteful spending, and start dealing with making our government efficient. Government, I don't know where people ever thought government would be efficient, because government is so inefficient in anything that they tackle. Sorry, we're ADDing over me. So look at me.
Look at me.
I'm seeing all this over here out of my...
And you're absolutely right. And I did put up a post by the head of the SEC who was complaining about the lack of capital formation for small businesses. And he was decrying that the idea is we keep adding more and more rules, but we never take away from those rules.
Right.
And it's a case of, while he's talking about all the financial rules, especially with Dodd-Frank now finally being fleshed out, and you keep wondering, the rate of entrepreneurship of new business startups is now sinking. That used to be our strength as a nation.
Right.
And I'm looking at all this stuff going on, going, I did my own business. I would never want to start my own business again because it's too hard.
Right.
We've gotten to the point of there's too many laws. The ordinary person can't understand them all, can't even find them. So what would I like the idea, the Office of the Repealer. Yep. Is that something that we should look at here in New Hampshire? Because we're a relatively small state. Could we do this? Is there a will to do this?
Well, I think that's where we would definitely need to be talking to others. I think once, it's kind of like you're going to have to flush out what happens after the November election. And then to me, what I would like to do when I win this position is to connect with other senators, other House members, like House Republican Alliance folks, and start, how can we do this? How can we make this happen? Because I really, to be honest with you, we have so many barriers to entry. And, I'll go back to the licensing thing just because it's my pet peeve, is when you have an EMT that can be certified for 26 days of education training, and it takes a cosmetologist, hairdresser, 350 days to be certified. You have to scratch your head and go,
that's crazy.
And again, I still, what are we doing? And who's looking out for the taxpayers' money?
Yeah, I mean, Rick is the president of the Londonderry Fish and Game, and trying to expand to do some more gun ranges. The amount of hassle you have to be able to move dirt on their own land.
Yeah.
That's all it is, too, moving dirt.
Yes.
We're going to take a break. We'll get back to the dirt in the next segment because we're talking to Kathy. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Few things are as important as finding the right doctor. And under Obamacare, that's harder than ever. Over a third of our hospitals no longer available. Our doctors no longer covered. Fewer choices, longer drives. No state has been harder hit than us. And even after watching it impact New Hampshire, Congresswoman Ann Custer still supports it. Call Ann Custer. Tell her Obamacare isn't working for New Hampshire. We are struggling. Rising healthcare costs are part of the problem. Senator Jean Shaheen helped create this mess we're in. As a state senator, her bill chased 21 insurers out of our state. It reduced our choices, raised prices for New Hampshire families, and when Jean Shaheen supported Obamacare, it limited access to 10 of our 26 hospitals, reducing our choices again. Tell Jean Shaheen she's made healthcare worse.
Welcome back. We're talking about regulations, costs, burdens, and of course, we're talking with Kathy Rego, who's running for the New Hampshire State Senate to help relieve us of those costs, regulations, and burdens.
In State Senate District 7, which encompasses which towns, Kathy?
It encompasses Guilford, Laconia, Northfield, Belmont, Franklin, Andover. I have to count them on my fingers as I go. Canterbury, Salisbury, Boscawen, and Webster.
Wow. It's a good-sized area.
Yeah, it is. And it's from one range to another. So, I mean, I love the area. I love the Lakes region. I've been there for 15 years. And it's sweet. I love Webster Lake. I go kayaking on there quite often. And, I want to get in there to relieve the taxpayer somehow and promote. The other thing you talked about, what government should do. One of the things government can do well is when we're promoting economics, let's say. Like, I've had people come up to me that are dealing with, like, the Weirs Beach. I don't know if you folks have been to the Weirs, but it's a beautiful area. But there's a strip there that's very, it's not pedestrian friendly. There's a little section there where some of the restaurants are, where you can't, not the strip where the beach is itself, but the connecting one. And somebody had suggested, why don't we look at somehow, doing something to put sidewalks up here? Because I've been there before, and you go to that restaurant and then you want to come across the street to go into the Weirs, it's like you put your life in your hands because it's so non-friendly. And if we're going to be promoting the economy, we should be looking at. And I think that's one of the things government and private enterprise.
I think government's job would be to get the hell out of the way and let the people who profit from that take advantage of the opportunity to fix it and say, listen, we have a solution. We want to put in sidewalks. We'll help pay for it. This is why. Let's come together. You don't take 5 years to approve this, and we'll do it sooner.
And I agree with you.
And that's it, because it's study after study after study, an ungodly amount of time. I mean, there's a story out of California now that the people are crowing about the success of their environmental laws because it literally took 20 years for a developer to finally get all the permissions to be able to do his project. 20 years, and this is a success. This is the environmentalists who basically say our job is to not allow anything.
Correct.
Correct.
And you've got a personal story with what you're going on with, just trying to do something.
We paid $46,000 in engineering and permit costs, and we haven't even put a shovel into the ground yet. But that wasn't the hard part. The hard part for me was just the mere fact that one bureaucratic hack within a town is left with the discretion to decide how much or whether a restoration bond is going to be imposed. Okay. Now, we are not building Walmart, we're not building McDonald's, we're not impacting any major thoroughfare. Okay, we're moving some dirt out in the middle of nowhere. Okay. So now we're told we get all of our approvals, we're right there where we're at the point where we can break ground. And we're told, oh yeah, by the way, you got to have a restoration bond posted. Oh, really? How much is that? $168,000. Well, $168,000 is the real-world money value of the project going forward. Now, the way bonds work, for those who don't know, is you pay so many dollars per thousand. So for a $168,000 restoration bond, it's going to cost around $5,000. Okay, that was a quote coming from Ohio Casualty, who does the bonding. So I'm thinking, no. If we take this project, we begin it, and then we stop midstream, it's probably not going to cost us $15,000 to get some bulldozers in and move everything back to where it was. Because remember, the primary basis for this project is berms, all right? And we're using native materials, i.e. materials that are existing and already there. The only thing we're modifying is the rock crushing. We have a lot of stone and shale, and we're going to use a rock crusher. So that's really the only, making bigger rocks into littler rocks. That's the only modification we're doing.
Yeah, in a sense, all you're doing is lining up 6 to 8 bulldozers, having them go in a straight line for 400 yards and stop.
Pretty much.
That's it for a new shooting range. That's it.
Well, we got to move. We're impacting 38,000 metric tons of material.
Yeah, but still, for people just wondering what we're talking about, you're just doing another firing range. That's it. You're not even building anything. And this is government getting in the way.
I agree.
But I mean, the bond issue, he stood firm on that number, and and this is where I throw out the name Representative Al Baldessaro, because Al Baldessaro, okay, the man is, I called him Mr. X-Lax. You know why? Because he makes crap happen. He really does. He's a guy that can really make stuff. He's just got an ability, Al Baldessaro, I called him up because I was in a bad mood and I felt like complaining. So I called him up and I says, Al, these hacks, and I won't say what I really said, but these hacks in Londonderry town government are driving me bananas. Our project's in jeopardy because he says we got, and he cuts me off and he says, meet me at the town hall in 20 minutes. So I try to get an appointment, an audience with the town manager. Al is the sort of guy that can walk through the door and bang, it happens.
Oh yeah, they see him and they're like, oh crap.
Well, no, his door. I mean, Kevin Smith's a great guy. If you know Kevin.
I know Kevin.
Smith.
Yeah,
oh yes,
he is a great guy.
And but he's a very busy guy too, so it's hard to get a meeting with him. But somehow, some way, Al has that where he can walk in and Kevin
Panache.
drops what he's doing,
Yep.
and we had a meeting. So where we're at now is we had another meeting Wednesday or Thursday, and now he wants a $80,000. This is after we got the lawyers, guns, and money involved, you know. So we got our lawyer involved, and you know, we took some pretty aggressive. We threw that, you know, fired a few shots across the bow. So now we're going to have an $80,000 restoration bond, a construction meeting. And here's the other thing that kills me. Okay, we have to put an escrow up of $5,000 for inspection fees. You know why? Because they hire a third-party engineering firm to come in and inspect our work. But the firm they hire, and I won't say their name because I don't want to get sued for slander, because it's pretty. But they're corrupt. Okay, if anybody is a money grubbing, you know, make fees organization, that particular firm is. And you know what? I've seen and heard all I needed to see and hear. So now, when we go to the construction meeting, we're not just going to go there with our contractor, Advanced Excavation out of Suncook. Great company, by the way. Work with us, bend over backwards for us. They're just fantastic
Quick.
guys. Okay, 30 seconds. The bottom line is that we're going to go into this construction meeting and start building this thing. We're going to have a lawyer. We're going to have an independent engineer, and we shouldn't have to have those things.
But the state
government
made it
makes you.
happen.
Yeah.
Kathy, how do people get in touch with you?
They can go on my website, Kathy4nh.com, or they can email me at Kathy@Kathy4nh.com.
Trying to get into the New Hampshire Senate to solve the problems that Rick has just been relating to us, along with hundreds of others, and maybe even thousands of others. We have
Call me a skeptic.
Call me a skeptic. Yeah, it's tough. It's
Absolutely.
tough. All right.
Hey, Kathy, I need to get together with you because I got more questions. So
Yep.
I can bring camera and we can do another interview.
Okay, that'd
All
be
right,
great.
we will do
Thank
that.
you
All
for
right.
having me, guys.
We are glad to have you here. This is GrokTALK. I'm Steve McDonald here with Skip Murphy. And, of course, Rick Olson's here. Kathy Rickle, thank you so much for spending some time with us. And we will be back in a couple minutes with Ed Nail and Rick Olson.
Senator Jeanne Shaheen said, if you like your current health plan, you can keep it. That's not true, Senator. 22,000 New Hampshire citizens have been kicked off their insurance plans. Hospitals in Rochester, Concord, and Portsmouth, they aren't allowed to provide care under the exchange. Senator, you were wrong in your comments. You should apologize for your misleading remarks. I'm calling Senator Shaheen at 750-3004 and telling her I want my doctor back. You should too.
Paid for by SaberPac.org, not authorized by any candidate or candidate committee.
We are struggling. Rising healthcare costs are part of the problem. Senator Jeanne Shaheen helped create this mess we're in. As a state senator, her bill chased 21 insurers out of our state. It reduced our choices, raised prices for New Hampshire families, and when Jeanne Shaheen supported Obamacare, it limited access to 10 of our 26 hospitals, reducing our choices again. Tell Jeanne Shaheen she's made healthcare worse. Few things are as important as finding the right doctor. And under Obamacare, that's harder than ever. Over a third of our hospitals no longer available. Our doctors no longer covered. Fewer choices, longer drives. No state has been harder hit than us. And even after watching it impact New Hampshire, Congresswoman Ann Custer still supports it. Call Ann Custer. Tell her Obamacare isn't working for New Hampshire.
This is a coalition of New Hampshire taxpayers. We're located at 8 North Main in Concord, New Hampshire. This is a repository for all things conservative and municipal. So if you have a problem in your town, your school, your budget committee, the right to know law, and now the top of our list is voter fraud. If you have a tip for us, some information for us, you want to join or help us out, cnht.org.
Grok TV.